Hello BookTube, happy Friday and welcome to a Friday Reads on a Saturday. You guys are going to see this on Saturday. I am filming this on Friday night. Wait, Friday night? Nope, it's Saturday morning. Happy Saturday, everybody. It's about 12:30 in the morning right now. I'm tired, and I should have been asleep a couple hours ago because I've had a crazy last few days and I haven't had a lot of sleep. But I just couldn't sleep because I'm working on like this new project in a way. And you guys are going to see the results of that project in a few days in a video coming like later next week on Thursday. So do stay tuned for that. I'm super excited about it. I don't want to get too much into it. It's not like a group project. It's a project for me, but it has to do with reading, and I'm super excited about it. It's very crafty, very fun. I've really been enjoying doing it. I've kind of been putting stuff together tonight, or today and tonight. So I will of course show you guys that on Thursday. So anyway, yes, you know, when you kind of get into something and you've got this idea and you kind of want to just get it down or start working on it, you just get super excited, and it's like, sleep? Who needs sleep? I can do that any old time. But yeah, I really should be getting to bed soon. But today's video is being brought to you by Snow Day Tea from David's Tea. This is one of my favorites. It's a herbal tea. Good thing again at 12:30 in the morning in my sleepy time sheepy mug, because as I said, it's almost bedtime. I'm sorry for knocking the camera. I am going to film this and then I'm going to worry about uploading it tomorrow. So you guys will see it, of course, on Saturday. So, yeah, like I said, crazy last few days. There's a reason that there was no Friday Reads that went up actually on Friday, because usually I film those on Thursday night. But story time, you guys, I'll try and keep this brief. Thursday, I spent the time in hospital. So yeah, if you saw my Instagram post, you saw that I was in hospital. So what happened was on Tuesday night, I started having palpitations, and I've been dealing with them for the last like 2 or 3 weeks. Usually at night, they don't last very long. Like I start to get like the off and on, like they'll come and then they'll go. But on Tuesday night, they started and they sustained. And my, what's the word I'm looking for? My heart rate was at about 120 beats per minute for about 4 hours. And then I went to go pick up Garrett from work, and the whole time I'm doing the debate, do I go to the hospital? Do I stay home? What do I do? What do I do? And as they've told me before, like if they go 6 to 12 hours, then come into emerge and blah, blah, blah. Like it's been 4 hours. Let's just give it a bit of time. So I went and picked up Garrett from work, and I was in the lineup at Tim Hortons, and they stopped. And I thought, great. So I got home, and then they started up again, but they weren't like sustained like they were for the past 4 hours. It was again this off and on, off and on. But it wasn't like it was off and on for like an hour and then they completely went away and then came back, you know, later. It pretty much did that like all night. I went to bed and I thought, okay, I'll go to bed, and when I wake up in the morning, I'll see what it's like. So this was Wednesday morning now. I get up and it was still happening. So I went to work, and the whole time I'm driving to work, I'm like, do I go to the hospital? Do I go to work? Do I go to the hospital? Do I go to work? And I got to work, and I worked till about 2 in the afternoon, and then I finally called my boss and I said, listen, this is the situation. This is what's going on. It's now been, you know, almost 24 hours, really. You know, I think I need to kind of go and have this looked at. But, you know, what kept making me pause was the fact that they would stop and start and stop and start. So anyway, I got home, and because I came home first, and Garrett came with me, so I picked him up and we went back down to the hospital. So I had to go downtown to Toronto General. And I got into emergency at about 4:30 in the afternoon on Wednesday. So I was very quickly admitted into, you know, the ER itself. I was hooked up to a monitor, of course, because it's cardiac. They put in an IV. They didn't put in an IV line, so it's not like I had saline dripping in. They just kind of put the needle thing in and left it there. I mean, taped it down and all that fun stuff. Sorry for those of you who are squeamish. And, you know, that's an easy way also for them to take blood if need be. So it was like one of those hurry up and wait situations. It's a lot of just sitting around, like, let's be honest, right? So finally the doctor comes to speak to me, and he was a cardiac doctor. And he says, you know, you're in and out of normal rhythm. Clearly, it's what they could see on the monitor. I mean, in the span of like 30 seconds, I was going from 60 beats a minute to 120, down to 70, down to 50, up to 118. You know, like that's where my heart was. It was like doing the cha-cha, you know? So anyway, I knew right walking in that my medicine needed to be changed. That's what this was. And because it was not recently, if you guys remember, if you've been watching me for a while, you know I ended up in the emergency room back at the end of June, early July with the same situation, and they changed my medicine. And then now my doctor changed it again at the end of August when I saw him. So I think it's just my body's just not liking the medication I'm on. So I said that to the triage nurse, and I said that to the cardiac doctor, and he's like, well, you know, let's look into it. I want to discuss with your team because I am congenital. I'm special. And I'm not just saying that. They kept referring that me as that the whole time I was there. They're like, well, you're special, so, you know, we need to do certain things, and it's not standard. It's not a normal person, and blah, blah, blah. You know, the anatomy of your heart is quite different than most people's, so blah, blah, blah. So he said what they're probably going to do is, this was at like 11:30 at night in Emerge. He said to me, we're going to admit you, which I was not happy about. And he said, we are probably going to do a cardioversion, which, if for those of you who don't know what that is, it is a terrifying thing to have done, in my opinion. I've had them done now 5 times, 4 times, 5 times. I can't remember. I think it's 4 times. They essentially sedate you, completely sedate you, put you out. And what they do first is then they put a tube down your throat. And they sedate you essentially so you don't swallow while they're trying to do this. And essentially they're doing an ultrasound of your heart from the inside. So they can see all around it and not just like the front half, right? They're checking for blood clots essentially. So they do that part of it. Then while you're still sedated, as long as there's no blood clots, they put pads on your chest, on your front and on your back, or just on your front. I think it depends if you have a pacemaker or not. I don't. And then they bring out these little wand paddles, much like when you see in the movies, you know, they have the paddles that come out when somebody's like, you know, shock them. They bring out these, like, they're smaller, much smaller. And they do, against the pads, give you an electric shock. And essentially what it is it's like restarting a computer. They're essentially just kicking the heart back into normal rhythm. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's always worked for me before, and I sustained it for quite some time until other measures could be taken, like, you know, months down the road. I had to have a couple ablations, which is where they go and they burn the scar tissue off your heart. You've probably heard of celebrities and certain sports people having it done. I had never heard of anyone having it done until I had it done, which is weird. But anyway, I'm getting away from the story. So they said they were going to do that, so I was really upset. Because Garrett had to go home. I was not going to make him sit in the emergency with me all night because he had a hard plastic chair to sit in and it was totally uncomfortable. And he, you know, wanted to get home and sleep and then so he could come back in the next day. So anyway, I didn't know when they were going to do this. I figured I'm going to be all by myself, and that terrified me. Even I knew full well Garrett wasn't going to be in the room when it was going to happen. But just the fact knowing that somebody else was in the building was good enough for me. But unfortunately, we didn't know when it was going to happen. He's like, the congenital team will come and talk to you in the morning. So he left, Garrett left, and I didn't sleep, pretty much. You cannot sleep in the emergency room. It's difficult to sleep in a hospital to begin with. It's 100 times more difficult to sleep in the emergency room because there's constantly stuff going on, and especially downtown Toronto, the night before Halloween. Oh, the stories I could tell you that I heard that night. Oh my gosh, you guys. It was highly entertaining. No sleep, but highly entertaining. So then anyway, the next morning, about 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, the congenital team came by. And they were kind of looking at my monitor. They've been looking at all my results, blah, blah, blah. And they said, we're not going to cardioavert you. Yes. The reason is because I was in and out of normal rhythm. And what they explained to me is if we do the cardioversion, or cardiovert you, and you are at the time when we do the paddles, and you're in normal rhythm, it's not going to do anything. And they don't want to do it twice. They can't shock you twice, right? Like that, now you're getting into dangerous territory, right? So anyway, Garrett's trying to remove Gorn from his seat. He has to do a Gornectomy. So anyway, I was happy about that, she says. And then they said, we're probably going to look into doing your meds, like changing your meds. And I'm like, oh, geez, I said that like 12 hours ago. So anyway, I was still admitted, and I got moved up to a room upstairs, and which was nice being out of emergency. And then they said they were going to call my the EP team, which is the cardiac team that deals with arrhythmia and electrical stuff to do with the heart. So I waited and waited and waited. It was like 3 hours. My nurse comes in and she says, "Are you still waiting for them, for the EP team?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "This is like, they said they were going to send them right away, because the other thing is that when the doctor the night before said, we're going to cardiovert you, he said I couldn't eat or drink anything after midnight. I hadn't eaten since 10 o'clock in the morning because I wasn't feeling well. So I'd had something to eat. I'd had like a bagel and a yogurt at 10 o'clock on Wednesday morning. It was now Thursday. Like, it had been 24 hours since I'd eaten food, since I'd eaten anything, had anything other than a few sips of water, like legit. So I was starving. And she said, and she knew because he was going to make the final call whether they were going to officially cardiovert me or not. Like, the congenital team felt it wasn't necessary, but it was really up to them. So anyway, she goes, "I'm going to go page him." So off she goes to do that. And she comes, and then he comes in like 5 minutes later. And he's like, "Nobody called me. Nobody told me that you were here." I was so mad. I'm like, dude, I'm starving. So he said to me that he goes, "No, we're not going to cardiovert you." He said, "We're going to give you back the magic pill," which is what we all refer to it as. I was on these meds years ago. I was on it for about 4 years. And it's a very high caliber antiarrhythmic medication. And the reason they took me off of it, or weaned me off of it, is because it's not good for other areas of your body. Like, in my case, actually, over the 4 years I was on it, it caused me to have the thyroid issue that I now have. But as him and I were talking, he said the pros outweigh the cons with this medication for me. Clearly, I have an arrhythmia issue. Clearly, it needs to be controlled better with medication. So I fared very, very well on this medication the first time round. Let's do it again. So they're only giving me the half a dose that half of the dose I used to get. So he says, we'll get that put in and blah, blah, blah. He goes, "I'm going to let the congenital team know. We'll get back to you." Again, hurry up and wait. So I was sitting, waiting. Finally, about 5:30, my cardiologist, like the woman that I see at the hospital, she comes. She's like, "How are you doing?" And I'm like, "I've been better." And she says, "Okay, we're going to take the recommendation from the EP team. We're going to put you on these meds, blah, 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 and we're going to send you home today." I was so happy. I'm like, yes. So about 10 minutes later, the other doctor that works with her, she comes in. She says, "Well, Dr. Wald decided not to actually send you home tonight. They want you to stay, after we give you these meds, because we want to see what your heart rate does. Because at normal rhythm, my heart rate is between 50 and 60 beats a minute, which is low. It's on the very low side. They were concerned that it was going to drop lower. Totally understandable." So I was upset, though. So I said to them, I'm like, "How about I cut you a deal?" I said, 6 o'clock, they're going to give me the meds. How about I stick around till 10 o'clock? And if nothing has happened before 10 o'clock, I can go home. So she went back and conversed with Dr. Wald, and Dr. Wald said, "That's absolutely fair. Let's do that." So they gave me the pill at 6 o'clock, and by 10 o'clock, my heart rate was still even like right around 60 beats per minute. They were totally happy with everything, and I was sent home. So that's my story. That's why there was no Friday reads on Friday. That's why I got a ton of reading done at the hospital, though, you guys. Oh my gosh. I finished the last 3 books I wanted to finish for the month of October. Oh my gosh. The only one I didn't get done was the Pumpkinheads. I didn't even get to start it because I didn't have it on me. I had actually planned on reading it on Halloween night. That was my plan, to come home from work on Thursday and read it. And when Garrett came to see me on Thursday, I didn't have him bring it with him because I didn't know how long I was going to be there, and I didn't want all this stuff. So anyway, unfortunately, that's the only book I didn't finish for the month, but that's okay. I have it. I can read it next October. It's not a big deal. The book will always be there. I own a copy. So I got home and I went to bed, and I woke up this morning about 9 o'clock, and I emailed my manager and I said, hey, I'd been in contact with her like the whole time. And I'm like, I had planned on trying to get into work today, but I just couldn't do it. I'm exhausted. That my body's going to take at least a few weeks to get used to these meds. Excuse me. They make you really tired because they do lower your heart rate, lower your blood pressure. So fun times. So that's my story. Let's hope we have no more doctor hospital type stories for the next few years. Would be lovely. Between me and my dad, it's just I'm done. I've had enough of hospitals, and yeah. So I've got war wounds, as you can see. That's gonna be wickedly bruised in the next day or so. Like I said, they had the IV line in my arm, but the nurse came in at one point. She said, "Oh, I got to do some blood," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay. You're like the 5th person so far today." I think that's all they did was draw blood from me. So I pulled up the gown and I showed her my arm, and I'm like, "Yep, here, tap from the vein," and she's like, "No, I can't take it from the vein that your IV's in." She says, "I have to take it from your other arm." Well, the problem is that my veins are garbage. You can't see them. They're good, but they're not there. And so she had to take it from my hand, which I will admit, I'm almost 41 years old. I cried because that hurts. That's your hands and your feet are the two. And believe me, I've had the feet done. It's horrible. So yeah. So anyway, all that, I hope you enjoyed my little story time. Let's talk books and knitting now, you guys, because that's much more enjoyable. It is the weekend that we fall back. So we have an extra hour, which is super nice this weekend. I'm going to work some more on my project that I was just talking about at the beginning. And I'm going to do a lot of reading and knitting this weekend. And those are my plans. That's all I have planned. I do plan on going to bingo with Mom on Sunday morning. But other than that, it's a relaxed, chill weekend. So what am I going to be reading this weekend, guys? So first of all, my current, and both of these books I've already started. 2 of these books I've already started, 1 I haven't yet. But the first one that I've already started is my current ebook, and it is one of my NetGalley books, and it is The Cowboy's Christmas Baby. The Cowboy's Christmas Baby by Kathy McDavid. This is, excuse me, I've got the hiccups. This is a Harlequin heartwarming. So these are sweet romances. You are not going to get any adult content in these romances, just so you guys are aware. If you want to read some Harlequin books, but you're afraid of the adult content, I can assure you these ones are clean. This one is a standard romance kind of tropey story about a couple who were together. They broke up for circumstance, and then after they broke up, guess what? She was pregnant. So now they've run back into each other, and she's got a 4-month-old. And it happens over the holidays, and it's to do with, she's a barrel racer, actually, and he's a cowboy of sorts in the rodeo. I'm not sure what he does. We haven't gotten to that part yet. I'm only about 26 pages into this book. I'm not very far. I didn't get a lot of this read today. I wanted to get more done, but that's okay. I've got all weekend. But yeah, so far, I'm enjoying it. I like Kathy McDavid's writing. She used to write, I believe, quite a bit for the Harlequin American romance line, which then became the Harlequin Western romance line. So she knows her cowboy romance. And then the current audiobook that I'm reading, I am really enjoying this one so far, you guys. I'm about 33% of the way through it. I'm a little over 4 hours through it. I spent a lot of time listening to it today as I was working on my project. And this one was recommended by Olive over at Book Olive. In her nonfiction November TBR and recommendations list, she talked about this one for voice, and I can absolutely see how it would work for voice. The story is called Empty Mansions, and it's by Bill Dedman, and Paul Clark Newell Jr. And this is the mysterious life of I can't say her name. It's French. Clark and the spending of a great American fortune. So there's the cover. So this is right up my alley. I love history. You guys know that. So history, nonfiction history is like my favorite thing ever. But I also love stuff that have to do with, very well-to-do or wealthy families, like, the Vanderbilts or anything like that. Like I read Biltmore last year. Stuff to do with historic places as well, I really like. Another one, just for a quick recommendation, if you're interested, is, so I read Biltmore. What was the other one? Oh my gosh, what's that hospital in New York? Oh, it's totally escaping my head, and I've read the book twice. It was so good. I will leave the name of it down here. Bellevue. Thank you, Garrett. See, I've got my helper. So Bellevue is the other one. It was really good too, the history of Bellevue Hospital in New York. But anyway, so this isn't necessarily about real estate or houses. Essentially what the story is about, it's about this one of the wealthiest families in New York, or in the US, or at their time period, that no one has ever heard of. They made their money in copper piping, like in copper, and how the money was left to this one daughter, and how she spent it, but never lived in any of these. Like, the author talks about it in the introduction, that he finds out about this house that went on the market for something ridiculous like $24 million. And I know we've all done it. I know I've done it. You guys have probably done it too. You know, you're looking either for a rental, or you're just checking out real estate for funsies. And you go online to your town and you like start at like the highest price stuff, and you like look through the pictures. I do it. Come on, let's all admit it. We all do it. And that's essentially what the author was doing. And he found this house that was up for sale for like $24 million. And he ended up going there just to see the outside of it and talk to the caretaker, and the woman who owned it had never lived there. And he found out like 3 properties that this woman owns that she never actually lived in ever. So, and then he wanted to find out more about who she was, and then finds out like this family history. So you're kind of going through the history of the family, her father, and how he built his fortune, how the fortune was left to her, and how she's now, we're going to get into, I guess, how she spent it. So, oh my gosh, this is so good so far. I am loving it. And how Olive pegged it in for voice is that there are actual there are actual audio recordings of the woman, like in her 80s and 90s, talking to, I think, her nephew, like in phone conversations with her nephew. It's brilliant, and I love it. Oh, I'm so glad, like, and Olive said in her video, if you are going to read this book, it's a good book. But if you're going to read it and you're an audio listener, listen to it on audio, because if you're reading the book, you're not going to get those bits of her in her voice. Do you know what I'm saying? That to me is audio. That is a great audio book. You know, it really uses the medium for what, or media, yeah, the media for what it actually is, and it's fantastic. So I'm absolutely loving this. And yeah, I can absolutely see this one getting a 4 or a 5-star review from me this month, which will be super fantastic. And the last book that I plan on reading this weekend, and possibly into next week, is Not the Girl Next Door by Stacey Connolly. My next in my 40 Years of Harlequin project. This is, I think, book 2 in the Forever Yours series. And this one, I haven't started it yet, is about essentially another romance trope of he falls for his best friend's younger sister. Big no. Although when you're adults, does it really matter? But yeah, it's a romance trope. We all know that. And there's puppies, of course, in the story. So that's going to be really fantastic. So yeah, so that's what I plan on reading this weekend. So let me show you some of my knitting, because I had my socks on me when I ended up in hospital. So I got quite a bit of knitting done on those. And I've gotten a bit of other knitting done on my sweater and my shawl. So let me show you those very quickly. So the socks. So here we are, still working from the lovely sock blank from Rachel over at Night Owl Fibers. I checked her website. She doesn't have any sock blanks up right now, but she does amazing self-striping yarn. Like if you're looking for yarn that stripes on its own, much like the socks I'm currently wearing. These aren't Rachel's. These are Desert Vista Dye Works. But if you're looking for that, check out Rachel. She's got a lot of great stuff. But so this is the sock blank. This is what it looks like unknit up. So I'm slowly knitting through it. So these socks are not going to match, but they're going to go together. I mean, they will match, but they're not going to be perfectly matched. So there's where I was last Friday when I recorded, and that's how much I got done. Plus I got the heel in. Guys, I did the heel without a pattern at the hospital. I am super proud of myself. And with doctors, I was working on the heel when the congenital team came in to talk to me. And all of them were like, what are you doing? That's the neatest thing. So I'm telling you, knitting or reading, people will always ask what you're doing or what it is you're reading. I got asked that quite a bit too, what I was reading. But luckily I also had my audiobook to listen to while I was knitting on my socks. So yeah, so a fair amount of that done. So I'm now just working on the leg. And I'm really loving the way this sock blank is knitting up. It looks so neat, doesn't it, you guys? Oh, I just love like the subtle, it's almost like little splotches of color. It's so super pretty. So yeah, so I've got that. And of course, this one nurse was Googling, like going crazy over my bag because it's my pumpkin spice latte bag. She's like, they're my favorite thing ever. She's like, where did you buy that? I must have it. I'm like, this was a limited run of like 25 bags. That's all she made. The designer or the bag maker had the fabric custom made and only made the 25 bags. She also made one later that year that was the red cups. The red cups from Starbucks for the holidays. Oops. These. And I wish I had gotten in on that one, but I just missed it. So I don't have the matching set, but that's okay. So there's that. And then let's go sweater. Sweater did not get as much love this week, but that's the shawl. Actually, I'll just show you the shawl. So the shawl got a lot of love this week just because it's really mindless to knit on and I don't have to think about it. Only every 20 rows do I have to actually think about it when I have to put in like the lace row. So there's where I was last week. And it doesn't seem like, well, actually, no, looking at it this way now it does. So I got all that done. All that done. And as you can see, guys, it just keeps getting longer. So it's the shape of the shawl, right? So this is only the first of 3 sections. This is going to be huge. I think I've got over 80 stitches on the needles right now. The pattern gives you stitch counts as you finish each section, so you can see whether you're on track or not. And I love the lace areas in here. So I need to finish off this section. I'm almost done it, and then I need to put the next lace section in, and then I start fading in my next color, which is going to be super exciting. So this is going to be the next color. It is a multicolor, so that's going to fade into that, and then I'm going to end it on another solid color. So that's what it's going to look like. This is going to be my, I say it's a shawl, and it is a shawl, but this is going to be my scarf for this year, because this is in a thicker weight yarn. It's like a DK weight. Not quite, it's a decent thickness, but I mean, this is just one panel, guys, like just one, like this, I could bind it off now and wear it. This is going to be huge, which is exactly what I want, because I want something that I can tuck deep into my winter coat, and, you know, have it cover everything and keep me nice and toasty warm. So, because rumor has it from Environment Canada that the winter in Southern Ontario this year is going to be bloody cold. Not a lot of snow, which I'm cool with, but very cold. So I'm getting prepared. Now let me show you the sweater. Speaking of things that are going to keep me warm. Oh, so that's living in my fox bag. These hipster foxes. Would those be considered hipsters? I don't know. I'm so out of it. I'm not with the lingo of today. With the youth, if you will. My sweater. Falling off the needles. Oh, God, I love the color. I love the color of this. It's so pretty. So, there we go. Not a lot of love on this one. That's where I was last week. That's where I got to. But as you can see, I am definitely putting in the lace detailing on this. So yeah, this is going to be really pretty. It's going to be a layering piece. You can see it looks kind of bumpy. And I was talking to my friends about that, and they're like, no. It'll stretch, like as I wear the sweater, it'll stretch. Plus I have to block it when I'm done. I just have to be real careful because this is 100% wool. So this will stretch like there's no tomorrow. So I've got to be very, very careful when I wet it, like when I give it a bath, when it's done and I lay it out. Be very, very careful with it, but I am loving it. It's going to be a great layering piece because of the holes in it. It's not exactly something that you can wear nothing underneath. So I'm thinking a nice long sleeve, like a thermal will be great underneath this in the wintertime. And again, I don't know what I'm going to do with the neckline. I might just weave in the ends and leave it, or I might do just do like a row of something. I don't know. I haven't decided yet exactly how I'm going to work that. But yeah, that's the sweater. This is called, oh my gosh, the shawl is called the Free Your Fade by Andrea Mowry. I'll leave link to all the knitting patterns below. The sock is just a plain vanilla sock pattern. I just kind of Frankenstein together a couple different sock patterns and it fits my foot. And then this is called the Campside Pullover by Alicia Plummer. Again, I'll leave a link to it below in case you guys want. The sweater and the shawl are both paid for patterns, so I can't really say too much about them. But like I said, this one takes a bit of thought. It's not really. It's just you are following a chart for the lace part, but it's not a difficult chart. All you need to know how to do are yarn overs and knit two together. That's it. So it's just the placement of the holes, essentially, or the lace. So yeah, so I am loving this. This is living in my camper bag because it's called Campside. But yeah, my lovely camper bag, which I love. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. Longer video, you guys know, but I had story time, so you know, that's a thing. But anyway, you guys will see this on Saturday. Videos coming up this week, of course. Sunday is going to be my weekly reviews. I'm going to film that stuff tomorrow. Also will be my month-end wrap-up next week, and my my little kind of special personal project I've been working on that I'm super excited to show you guys, because it is book related, so I think it absolutely belongs on here. And yeah, anyway, that's about all that I have. Oh, and it's not NaNoWriMo, if any of you are questioning. I am attempting NaNoWriMo. I'm not pushing myself. I'm going to, you know, I would like to finish a book, writing one, but I'm, you know, I'm going to work on it as much as I can. And, well, I can still enjoy doing other things too. So, because I do have many hobbies, as you guys know. So anyway, that's all I have for this video. I do hope that you guys enjoyed it. Please let me know in the comments below if you've read any of these books. I know I only talked about 3 of them. Or let me know what's on your nonfiction November TBR. That book that I talked about was not on my TBR, but it's now, you know, I had to read it as soon as I heard what it was about. So let me know how's your November going to shape up. Do you have a lot of good books on your November TBR? And until my next video, everybody, take care and happy reading. Bye, guys.